Hey fam, it's Rachel. Today on Crack Your Bible, I wanted to talk to you guys about practical steps that Christians need to take to keep themselves and their families safe during this whole pandemic. Because while I don't know what's coming in the future specifically related to this pandemic, if it does get worse, this is not the time for Christians to be afraid. This is the time for Christians to address situations with their head on straight. You need to be thinking logically and you need to work smart, because we know that Hosea 4:6 tells us, "My people perish for a lack of knowledge." And too often today, Christians go into situations blindly. They're negligent in situations and it can end up hurting them. And we are not supposed to put God to the test. We are not supposed to just be negligent where we put ourselves into unsafe situations where we could end up hurt and be like, oh, well, I'm not going to do my due diligence. God will just need to take care of me. No, you need to be wise as serpents and harmless as doves, as Jesus commands us to do, so that we can go out and live victoriously, so we can be in dangerous situations and still have a modicum of protection, because God gave us a brain. He gave us intellect and we need to use it instead of just being like, well, I don't need to take precautions because God is going to take care of me. Do not put the Lord your God to the test. So let's talk about some ways that Christians need to keep themselves safe in these crazy situations. So before we talk about that, make sure you do hit subscribe with the bell, with the notifications. Make sure they are on all notifications, because YouTube has been changing them to like personalized. So many people have told me that, so they're not getting notifications. And I know that so often many of you guys are at home right now, so you guys need to have the notifications on. So anyway, the reason that I bring this up is because I don't know what's coming. I don't know if it's going to get worse. I hope it gets better, but we have to hope for the best and prepare for the worst. We need to plan ahead. And we see this throughout the Bible, especially with Abram. You know, in Genesis 14, before he went to go fight these giant kings, he had men born in his own house and they were trained for battle. They were trained before the battle happened. They weren't scrambling to get trained while they're in the thick of all of this stuff. So right now, the time to prepare kind of passed already, but there are some practical steps that you can take to keep yourself safe as a Christian, because we know that Jesus told us that trials and tribulation and persecution would come. But not only that, we know like the days are getting shorter, Satan's time is short, and you know, the beginning of birth pains are happening. And today I saw that Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, which is a pretty large metropolitan area in the United States, said that they're going to be suspending arrests for things like theft or auto theft or prostitution or economic and financial crimes or bench warrants, all sorts of misdemeanors. So we see that justice is being suspended, and Christians, you can't necessarily rely on the safety net of your local police department to come and save you if bad people are trying to hurt you. So it's time that Christians take some precautions to keep themselves safe. And for example, okay, now there is an Orthodox synagogue, and I have attended this synagogue before I went for Shavuot, not because I'm Hebrew roots, which I'm not, and it's not because I'm Jewish or anything like that. It was just because I wanted to see how Orthodox Jewish people celebrate Shavuot. And the rabbi, he goes to my gym, we're Facebook friends, whatever. This past week, he put out a Facebook Live service for his Orthodox synagogue because they're trying to keep everybody safe. And he said something that really resonated with me, and I wanted to share it with you guys. And he said that, you know, whenever they have services at their synagogue, they have about 10 people who are armed at all times, because that's just the kind of world that we live in. You have to have safety measures in place, because there's a lot of bad people out there. You know, Satan is the god of this world, and he's here to steal, to kill, and destroy. And he was saying that now that sports is shutting down, entertainment is shutting down, supplies are getting low, bad people who are currently occupied, like in their daily life, with entertainment, with sports, they are going to look for an outlet to take their aggression out on, because all of those outlets went away. And we as believers, I mean, he was specifically talking to Orthodox Jews, but we need to be on guard and recognize that these people are going to soon start itching to get that aggression out. And it's time that Christians be on guard, because we can't necessarily rely on the police to help us in these times. So, you know, so often Christians, they act really naive, and they say stuff that is just so off the wall. And if you said this to anybody outside the Christian community, people would throw hands. For example, so right now I'm not wearing makeup. So it's not because I'm against makeup, but sometimes I wear makeup on this channel, other times I don't. And right now I'm just trying to conserve the makeup that I have, because things are getting crazy, but I don't want to just like needlessly waste the things that I have. And I hate doing videos where I don't wear makeup, not because I'm like insecure about how I look, but I enjoy wearing makeup, and I hate it. I hate it when Christians come on this channel and they're like, oh, thank God. Oh, I'm so happy that you're not wearing makeup. You look so much better without makeup. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Like your real beauty's showing through. That is a rude thing to say. I don't know who raised you, but that's rude. That is not a compliment. That is a backhanded compliment. And anybody with manners would know you don't say that to somebody. It's rude. And it doesn't matter if that's your opinion or you're just saying. Stop saying just saying. It sounds weak and wimpy. Like, I hate that. It's so passive aggressive. Like, if you want to make me upset, say just saying. But anyway, so often Christians will say this kind of stuff, and it's like, why are you saying this? This is so rude. And if you said this to people out in the world, if you say it to the wrong person, you would catch hands. You offend the wrong person, like, you know, I'm a Christian. I realize there's a lot of socially inept people in the church, and I just have to deal with it. But outside in the world, they're not going to show you that grace. You say something like that to them and you offend them and you give them a backhanded compliment about how they look, you could get knocked out. And I'm not over exaggerating. You go step to the wrong person or the wrong place and you say something like that, even though you think you're doing something nice, you're going to catch hands. And that's why it's so important for Christians to be socially aware. It's just like, you wouldn't go up to a male pastor and be like, oh, well, I really like that you don't have makeup on today. If they're on TV, they have makeup on. I guarantee you they do. All newscasters, television evangelists, they all have makeup on. You have to have it for TV, otherwise you're washed out. But it's like rude stuff like that. And it's like when stress is high or people are just looking for a fight, you could set them off by just being socially stupid, saying something like that to people. So Christians, I want you to get out of the habit of commenting on people's appearances. None of this matters, whether you are covered up, whether you are or not, or whatever. It doesn't matter. You know, Adam and Eve, they were naked. John the Baptist was wearing camel hair. Peter was out fishing naked. What was it? Was it Isaiah? He was laying naked. It was one of the prophets. I might be saying the wrong prophet just off the top of my head. I don't have my Bible with me. He was walking around naked for 3 years. And it's time that Christians stop commenting on people's appearances, because when tensions are high and people are looking for a fight, you're going to say the wrong thing to the wrong person and it's not going to end well for you. They don't care. The people that you're going to step to and say this stuff, they don't care that you're a Christian. So that's my tip number one. Stop commenting about people's opinions. Keep it to yourself. If you don't have something nice to say, that's not a backhanded compliment. Like, you look nice today instead of how you usually do. That would be a backhanded compliment. Keep it to yourself. So number 2 is going to be, you don't need to answer your door for every single person. And this is a big problem with Christians, because I get so many people, they'll be like, oh, Jehovah's Witnesses knocked on my door and I didn't know what to say. Like, what should I say? Because they're going to be coming back. Here's the deal. Just because somebody's on the other side of your door does not mean that you need to answer the door. You don't need to answer the door to people that you don't know. Actually, don't answer the door to people that you don't know, because I've heard that there are people going around saying that they have specific little tests that they're going to run for everybody's health and safety, or, they're from the government, or, whatever. They're checking in on people. And actually, they're scammers looking to either rob you or swindle you out of money. Here's the deal. If you don't know who they are, don't answer the door. Law enforcement will show you a badge. Law enforcement will leave a card with an actual phone number that will go to a government agency. They will have a .gov email address to contact you for, okay? They are never going to call you on the phone and be like, oh, you need to pay us right now or we're going to arrest you today. That's not how it works in the United States. Those are scammers. Likewise, don't answer your door to people that you don't know. If it's law enforcement, they will have a badge and they will have a car. They will leave it for you. But other than that, do not answer your door for people that you don't know. You could get robbed. You could get scammed. You just don't know. And you don't want to open your door for people because they could see what's all in your house and come back later and rob you. So don't answer the door for people. I don't care if it's a Mormon missionary. I don't care if it's a Jehovah's Witness missionary. Keep your doors shut if you don't know who these people are, okay? Because if you're having to ask me, what should I say to Jehovah's Witness? You're not an effective witness for Jesus Christ to that specific group anyway, so you're not doing any good anyway, okay? You're just wasting your time and putting yourself in harm's way. Number 3, that would be, it's time to start cleaning for Passover. Now, we've done a whole series about all the different things talking about Passover, and I will put that link up here for desktop and mobile. And of course, I will also have the link down in the description box below. And we've talked about why we clean for Passover. We don't do it because we're Jewish or we're Hebrew roots. The whole thing is an exercise in futility, because it's supposed to show you the leaven, which in this specific instance represents sin. No matter how well we clean, no matter how deep cleaning, like how much deep cleaning we do, we can never get rid of all of the yeast or the leaven, which represents sin in our life. One single cell organism of yeast renders the whole entire home unclean. Likewise, one sin renders us unclean to God. And through no works of our own, no matter how many good works we have, we can never cleanse ourselves. That is why we need Jesus Christ to be that atoning sacrifice for us, which he was. He was our Passover lamb when he went to the cross. So we remember that as we clean our house. Like, it's to teach us that this is an exercise in futility. No matter how well I clean, it'll never be good enough. That is why I need the Passover lamb to cleanse me of my sin. But that's something that we reflect on every year as we, not just mom, the whole family gets involved in cleaning. But another reason why is number 1, you're going to be disinfecting your house, which is great. But number 2, so often I see people with their garages open and it is full of expensive junk that it needs to be inside their house. You need to start being cognizant or aware of the things that other people that you don't know see when you open up your garage door. For example, My husband and I, we keep both of our cars in the garage. We don't keep other stuff in our garage. We have a shoe rack inside of our garage. And my neighbors, right now, there's a toilet paper shortage. Right now, there's a paper towel shortage. There's a food shortage. If you open your garage and you have your refrigerator and it's in full view, you need to put some sort of covering over it or put something where it's not as obvious from the street. Because if people are hungry and every time you're opening up your garage and they see that second refrigerator in your garage, you are a sitting duck. My neighbors, they open their garage door. I see lots of paper towels in their garage. I see propane tanks in their garage because it's just junked out. And it's like, this stuff needs to be either in your backyard where people can't see it or inside your house. So as we clean for Passover, you need to start taking mental notes of things that need to be moved inside that could be attractive for people that don't have your best interests in mind. Because if supply chains get shut down and you've been opening your garage and you have all of your preps out in the open, who are you going to call if the police aren't responding to theft? What are you going to do? Because so many people who are Christian, they're not physically fit. They don't have the ability to defend their property. And you might live in a state where you don't have castle laws, where you can't defend with force your property. So if you end up injuring somebody while defending your property, the police will come out and arrest you. And then who's going to take care of your kids? Who's going to protect all your other stuff that you have saved up? Like, these are things that you have to think of. So let's not make ourselves attractive to thieves by cleaning for Passover and getting all of the attractive stuff inside of our house where our neighbors, our, random people in our neighborhood or people who are casing the joint aren't going to see that every time we open the door, every time we open our garage. We need to be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. And the last tip that I want to leave with you is make your house nondescript, like where people can't figure out what type of people live inside, because your whole neighborhood is giving off information to people. And again, we don't know what's coming. Hopefully it gets better, but again, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. Be wise as serpents, harmless as doves. So, a lot of people who are Christian, there's a lot of women who are Christian, like Christianity skews female here in the United States. It also skews older. And a lot of people will keep stuff outside. So, for example, I had this one neighbor and they drove me crazy. They moved, but they had this giant cross on the outside of their house. Why? If people don't like Christians, you know whose house they're going to target? The one that is obviously Christian outside. And not only that, they kept tons of kid toys out on their front lawn. Like their kids would play bikes or their scooters or their, just balls and other toys. And they would just leave it in their yard. You think somebody who knows, okay, well, most dads are going to be at work between 9 and 5, or they might be out doing something, they might have a job where they are essential. And mom is probably going to be the one at home with the kids. So if they see lots of kid toys, it's going to be like, mom is going to be too afraid to fight me because she's going to want to protect her kids. And this is the house that I want to get. This is why you need to make sure your kids take their toys inside. Make sure that to outsiders at night or, whenever your kids aren't outside, it's not noticeable like, hey, there's lots of little kids here. Or maybe there's kids home alone here because mom and dad are at work. And, what are kids going to do? Are they going to overpower some crazy person who's looking for mischief or to take out his aggression on people? Don't make it obvious outside. People who are angry, looking for somebody to blame, don't put religious symbols on the outside of your house. Be wise as serpents, harmless as doves. This is not denying Jesus. This is called being smart. You know, even Paul, there were times where he was preaching the gospel and people were so riled up. The people he was with, they told him, stand back, don't even go into the crowd. It is not safe. There are some times where you don't need to be as vocal with your faith. We're going to plaster crucifixes all over our house. Sometimes you need to take it down a notch. It's not the time or the place, and it's not because we don't love Jesus. It's being wise as serpents and harmless as doves, and not putting God to the test by being negligent or purposely putting ourselves in situations where we attract attention from people who want to do us harm. So get religious symbols off of your house, off the outside of your house. Get kid toys off of the street if they're not in use. Have your kids put them inside, either in the backyard, inside the house, or in your garage when they're not in use. And the other one is take your shoes inside. Now, my husband is Asian, and we don't wear shoes inside the house. But we park our cars into the garage. We take our shoes off before we get out of the garage and walk into our homes, and our shoe rack is in our garage. So we take our shoes off and we leave them there. So often, you know, I remember years ago, I lived in an apartment and this family would just leave a pile of shoes right by their front door. And older people or kids or women, you can tell about how tall somebody is. If a man has a foot that's this big and his shoe is this big, you know, if you see that kind of shoe outside, it's going to alert, you know, somebody who has bad plans, like, hey, there's probably a pretty big dude who lives here. But if he sees a really small woman's shoe or lots of kids' shoes or an older person's shoe like Crocs or maybe some slip-ons or some orthopedic shoes, he's going to know these are people who are easier to target. So bring those shoes inside. Either keep them in your garage or keep them right in your front hallway so that you're not communicating with people who are bad. Like, these are the kind of people who live here. We need to be wise as serpents and harmless as doves, because there are people out there that don't like Christians. There are going to be people out there that are looking for people to take advantage of as things get worse. And if police aren't coming, we need to be cognizant of this stuff and make ourselves safe. We need to be aware of who we are around, what we're communicating to our neighbors, putting stuff inside where prying eyes can't see it, not opening the doors to stranger, and stop making comments about people's appearance, because that's the fastest way to catch some hands. So Christians, keep yourself safe. Be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Don't put God to the test by putting yourself in situations because you're being negligent or you're just being socially stupid. We can't risk just unnecessary conflict. We still have work to do for God's kingdom, but we can't do that if we're taken out before our time because we've been making stupid mistakes that are easily avoidable. So anyway, that's what I wanted to share with you guys. I hope you will like, subscribe, and share. And if you like this video, please hit like. If you don't like this video, hit dislike. Let me know any more of your tips down in the comments for keeping people safe, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.